Hello, friends. Today I want to talk about greatness and being great, and to tell you to be great. If you feel like you're called to be great, and it's something that you've just obsessed about probably since a young age, your obsession isn't wrong. You're right. It's not wrong at all. It's not wrong at all. It's good. It's right. In fact, you should be lucky that you have this calling upon you. If you're one of the few people in this universe who can not only, one, have that calling placed on them to do something great, two, have the tool and passion in which you can express that greatness, and three, have the privilege and opportunity to do it. There are tiers in life. Some people are at greatness, some people are good average, some people are bad, okay, foundational, and then it can go down to a state of hell where you don't even have the opportunity to think about greatness anymore. So not only if you're on the side where you have the opportunity to answer the call and you have all the things lined up to answer the call, do it. I can't express that any more firmly. Do it. Okay, you're never going to feel like yourself if you don't do it. I think that's the biggest thing that I want to express to people who have a calling of greatness. Not everyone gets a call to do something great. And when I say something great, I kind of want to clear up what I mean. A lot of people who don't have the call in life to be great, they might hear this video and they may think that this is arrogance, or this is kind of cockiness, or this is somehow egotistical, thinking that I'm better than other people, talking about greatness. I want to be very clear. Greatness is not egotistical or cocky or anything at all. Greatness, in my opinion, is a high virtue, no different than love or service. Some people get called to love the world. Some people get called to serve the world, to be a hero. Some people get called to be great at their task, at their passion, at their tool. If you're a baker, you be the greatest baker you can be. If you're a basketball player, be the greatest basketball player we can be. This is, to me, I think one of the things that appealed most to me about things like bodybuilding and powerlifting. There's an essence of greatness on display in terms of sort of the art of the practice, and I just love that. I've always felt since a very young age that I was great. I always had a calling to be great and to do something great and express it great. And if you're like me, I would say don't ignore that. Don't ignore that obsession. I think we live in a world where if you tell someone these feelings and you tell someone this, people can blow raspberries on you, right? They can try to literally clip your wings. They can literally try to stomp you out of this feeling, this belief. Now, when I say a calling, I say it very specifically, right? You don't feel insecure and then say, I want to be better than somebody, and therefore I'm going to try to leverage and use greatness, right? That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about an obsession that you dream about, an obsession that comes subconsciously, right? You're unconscious, and these greatness thoughts and visions are coming out of you day to day. You can't stop seeing it everywhere. You're obsessed about it, right? It's just, you can't stop wanting to get a piece of that. Greatness is, for people who have the calling of greatness, it is a sort of lens that you see your life through. It is sort of the filter that you see your life through. And if you're one of these people who has a tool to do it, to express it, if you have an opportunity to do it, right, do it. Do it. Be great. Be as great as possible. Don't try to humble up and lie to yourself, right? Don't try to be overly humble and lie to yourself. There's no point in being overly humble and confusing that for lazy. Greatness takes, in fact, no arrogance whatsoever, because greatness itself is not arrogance. Greatness is humility. Greatness is a yearning to want to learn. Greatness is a yearning for waking up every day and saying, show me, universe, show me. Where do I need to go? What do I need to do? How hard do I need to work? Is there more work? Is there more work? How much harder can I? It is an obsession to serve. It is an obsession to bow down to greatness and serve. This reminds me of something Jesus told his disciples. The greatest, right, in talking about greatness, the greatest amongst you all will be your servant. which basically means that the path to greatness is servitude. The path to greatness is serving the process. The path to greatness is humility. The path to this obsession, right, is being obsessed with how can I serve this? How can I get as low as I can to be great? That's what greatness is. Greatness itself is not in chasing a high ideal. That's not greatness. Greatness is serving. Greatness is being obsessed with how many times can I get spit in my face? How many no's can I get, as they say in sales, right? That's greatness. That is greatness. He continues on to say, for those who exalt themselves will be humbled. For those that make themselves arrogant and cocky and saying, I'm great, and go beat on their chest. The reason why I'm saying specifically is that you have a call to greatness is because that's what it is. The same way that if you're called to be a hero and you go fight fires, answer the call. It's that simple. I'm not asking you to be insecure and go get arrogant, right? What Jesus is saying here says, for those who exalt themselves will be humbled. For those that humble themselves will be exalted. Exalted meaning lifted up, right? So it's through your humility that you achieve your greatness. It's through your recognizing that I have the opportunity, that I'm great. I'm grateful for everything that I have. I'm grateful for this privilege to go for it, and it's and I'm sort of happy to answer the call. So we can call greatness now then not an attitude, not a disposition, not a belief system, but a collection of deeds, a collection of behaviors that end in a summation to greatness, so to speak. The famous quote, right? We are what we repeatedly do, therefore excellence is an act, not a habit. We are what we repeatedly do, Aristotle says, right? I am only counted by my deeds. It doesn't matter what I think, it doesn't matter what I say, talk is cheap. What I do, right, you should know a tree by it bears, as Jesus would say, as Maya Angelou would say, is that when someone shows you who they are, believe them. We are what we repeatedly do, therefore excellence is an act, not a habit. So when I ask you to answer the call, I'm not asking you to say, I feel great, I felt great since I was 10 years old, I've always felt great, like I should do this, but I'm just going to take on a sort of personality of false confidence. I'm sort of just going to take on a personality to try to feel insecurely as great as I am. That's laziness, and that's cockiness. It's also fearful and lazy to try to play it down. The second part, I think the macro sort of part to greatness, is that not only, as I was saying in my previous points, is this internal lens and filter going to sort of answer the call for life? Well, I mean, what can fulfill a person more than answering their purpose and putting those things together and being great? But I think greatness also has a macro perspective. Greatness is needed for the world. Greatness is good for the world. Okay. So I want to use an example when I was saying how people had many tiers and levels in life. There's this book that I was reading. I forget what the book is called. But it was written by the psychologist in a concentration camp. I believe it was called. I think it was Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Yeah, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. So Viktor Frankl was this psychiatrist or psychologist, I don't remember, but it basically went over his experiences as a prisoner in Auschwitz, in a Nazi camp. Terrible, right? Terrible. I want to tie two things together. This guy wrote from the perspective of his profession. This guy was a professional psychologist. He got taken from his reality as a professional in society and put into a concentration camp. Fucking crazy, right? So from this guy's perspective, he wrote about his experiences through how he sees the world. This book is amazing for two reasons. One, the content of the book. And two, this guy, even at his lowest state in a concentration camp, he still saw it from the perspective of his obsession. Viktor Frankl was called to be a psychologist. And when he got out and survived, he continued to be a psychologist. He gave it to us through the perspective of a psychologist. So, how can I say this? There's two things about this guy in this book that I think are of utter importance. First thing is that he answered his call to greatness when his life was good, before the concentration camp, to go be what he is. And when he was at his lowest in a concentration camp, he answered his call unconditionally. With no conditions, he answered his call to greatness. Greatness is a high virtue, like love or service. You can't just answer it when convenient. You can't just answer it when it's going good. You can't just answer it when it's going great. If you are called to greatness, it is a full-time responsibility that the world is waiting on you, right? The world needs you, right? It is a heavy thing to be put onto you. It doesn't matter what you are. It doesn't matter if you're a professional singer, dancer, professional landscaper. The world needs greatness. The world needs greatness so much that it is what the universe and world is made of. Yeah, there's a lot of bad things happening via people and things like that. But if you look around, look at this greatness here. I'm looking out the window. I think this is the Atlantic Ocean. It's a great ocean. And these great skyscrapers I'm looking at, I mean, it's just great. This world is made from a product of great creators. Whether it be the people who made these buildings, this camera, your great plumbing, whether it be whoever created this ocean and earth, it's great. This universe is great. We are the product of greatness. We inherit greatness. And if you're called to be one of the greats, to do something great, and no matter what it is, whether you have an audience or not, whether it's just raising your kids, do it greatly. Be great. It's too cheap to not answer your call to greatness, right? It's too lazy of you. It's too it's too arrogant of you to think that you're not good enough for greatness, right? To be great takes the lowness. It takes humility, right? It takes a yearning and searching and scratching to see sort of what am I made of. So the second point that I want to bring up for Viktor Frankl, not only did he do this unconditionally, right? And he still brought this gift to the world, this educational experience of what happened in concentration camps from the perspective of a psychologist. But one thing he said from his perspective that I think really helps me understand the theory of motivation better is that he says one thing that he noticed when he was in concentration camp is that there was no sexual perversion. Now, even we hear these stories in prison, right? Let's say American prisons today. Endless sexual perversion. Right, endless bad things happening sexually. It's right. It's like a thing that happens in bad states. Their state in the concentration camp was one that was so low, right, that no one was motivated for sex or sexual perversion. I found that very interesting. Right, he talks about how most people's obsession was survival. Was if someone else died, they would put on their shoes. They would take their clothes. People would just steal, and they would cannibalism. I mean, terrible things happen in this state, right? What I think he does is he brings us from a state of greatness, being currently in that state, down to good, average, all the way to a state of living hell, and he lets us know what a state of living hell can be like. In that state of living hell, your motivation changes. I want to talk about Abraham Maslow really quick before I wrap. Abraham Maslow is a psychologist, and a lot of people know Abraham Maslow from his theory of motivation. Basically, the Maslow hierarchy of needs. It's what it's called. Maslow hierarchy of needs is a pyramid. Let me actually bring it up. It's a pyramid of basically motivation. Each human being runs off motivation. When we talk about motivation and what motivation is, we use it very loosely, right? If I have to be honest. And so when he talks about motivation, he talks about it from a level of prepotency. So what I mean by prepotency is that okay, here we go. These needs, let me bring my camera up. These needs go this way. So at the very base of things, right? We have our psychological needs: food, water, warmth, rest. He was talking about his experience in a concentration camp where the only motivation was food, water, warmth, rest. That was all they were obsessed about. Now, when it comes to this next tier, safety, security, intimacy, all those things, no one was trying to get intimate. I mean, it's just that their motivation was they didn't have enough of this. Now, excuse me. Not only did he stay in this state and was in this state, but he never let go of what was at the top of the pyramid, right? At the very top of the pyramid is psychological safety, belonging, esteem. These are how we all basically get in life, and most of us are here if you're watching this video. He talks about self-actualization, right? Achieving one's full potential. Achieving one's full potential, including creative activities. Abraham Maslow basically says that if you're motivated in life, it's based on a take what you need basis. So if you're in a concentration camp, the biggest motivation that you have is going to be food, water, warmth, rest for your day-to-day. What impresses me about Viktor Frankl is that he, with no condition, ever gave up on his self-actualizing need. And I think that's what's special about human beings. We see this with examples of people like Frederick Douglass, people who were slaves, right, but knew that I was some genius, right? Though you are motivated day to day to maybe just eat, to maybe just find friends, or whatever level you're stuck on the pyramid at, if you're called to be great, if you're called to, as Maslow would call it, self-actualize, fulfill one's potential, it will never leave you. It will haunt you until you answer the call. Doesn't matter if you're in a concentration camp like this guy, you'll still be called to do it. It doesn't matter if you're in prison like Nelson Mandela. It'll still haunt you and obsess and call you. It doesn't matter if you're as low as possible. It'll still haunt you. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because you are in a situation that if you're watching this video, you have the opportunity. It's haunting you now, and you have the opportunity to answer the call. You have the opportunity to do something about it. You have the opportunity to go for it, right? You're full. You got friends, you got people, you got an intimate, you're full. Maybe you don't have all of them filled up, but Maslow was saying that there's a certain potency for each level, and you can go on and self-actualize. You can go on and be great. To tie this whole thing and to conclude, Maslow says that self-actualizers are great for society. Whoever came up with the toilet and plumbing system and was great at their plumbing and used that tool and their greatness to figure out something great, they changed the world and not only satisfied themselves and achieved the highest level of motivation within themselves. So that's one win there. And then they also gave to the world. Self-actualization, answering the call to greatness, is a win-win system. Don't let anyone knock you off of this idea that obsession is a bad thing or greatness is a bad thing. I beg you to be great in whatever it is that you have a passion for and whatever it is that you have a calling for. Do it. Do it greatly. Do it with humility. Do it and answer it with all your strength and all your days and all your courage. Okay, thank you. If you liked the video, please like the video. Please leave a comment. I have some people leaving some great comments on these videos. Any topics you want me to talk about or anything you can add on to any of these, please do let me know. I've been appreciating everyone in sharing some time and thoughts with their mind. Coaching I have to talk about. I talk about a lot of these things and I think about a lot of these things because I'm a professional bodybuilder, elite powerlifter, and a lot of these great calls of greatness that I've had in my athletic journey over my life hasn't been done without the knowledge and strength of good motivation, good thoughts, good coaches, good mentors that I've learned from, along with sound and good programming. So, okay. Thank you all. Thank you for watching. I know this one's a little long, but it's worth it. So, thank you.